seconds remaining. 3, 2, 1. Shields offline.
The first thing you want to remember is to have your hit chance and spell penetration capped. I've discussed the reasons for this in my last video, so I'm just going to give it a brief mention here. I've tried stacking Mastery, and while you do a lot of damage over time, it sacrifices too much burst damage, and I have a hard time finishing off a target. That being said, the primary stats for a Fire PvP spec are Resilience, Intellect, and Crit. Again guys, this is just how I play. I'm not saying it's right, or if you do something different it's wrong. I'm just going to explain my choices and give the reasoning behind them, so you can make your own decisions on what you want to use. As far as gear goes, I'm wearing the full PvP set with the exception of the headpiece. I'm using the Engineering Helm cogged for Resilience and Crit with a Burning Shadow Spirit Diamond as my meta. I've reforged all the haste into crit on just about every item, and gemmed for crit and intellect while making sure I'm still spell penetration and hit capped. Here's the current spec I'm using for fire. 2 in Master of Elements and 2 in Improved Fire Blast. 1 throwaway point in Burning Soul. I say throwaway point because as fire you should always be moving and you should have some sort of snare or stun up by the time melee gets in range to hit you anyway. Ignite, Firepower, Blazing Speed and Impact, full on. 2 in Cauterize, Blast Wave, and Hot Streak. I feel Improved Scorch is more of a PvE talent, so I don't take it. Between Master of Elements, Mana Gem, Clear Casting, Evocation, and switching to Mage Armor, I rarely run out of mana in PvP as fire. Combustion, obviously, I'll break down how that works in a second. Improved Hot Streak, and of course Fire Starter. Dragon's Breath and Molten Fury, Critical Mass, and Living Bomb. That opens up the other trees, so let's start with 2 in Shatter for the crit multiplier. Swing over to the Arcane tree for improved Counterspell and Clear Casting, and improved Blink. As you can see, I've got 1 point left over. I happen to put it in Piercing Ice. For glyphs, the prime are Living Bomb, Pyroblast, and Molten Armor for the extra crit. Major glyphs include Dragon's Breath, Evocation, and Mana Shield. The only essential minor glyph is Arcane Brilliance. It really pays off to have that so you don't eat up extra mana reapplying the buff if it gets taken off somehow. Here is how Combustion works. It does not remove the dots it combines, but basically it takes all the damage your dots would do and combines them into a new damage over time buff that ticks for 10 seconds for the combined total of the damage that the other dots will eventually do. So think of it like a dot multiplier. So let's say you hit someone with a Pyroblast, which hits the target for initial damage, but also applies a dot of its own for X damage over 12 seconds. It crits, so Ignite procs for Y damage over 4 seconds, and then add Living Bomb, which will tick for Z over 12 seconds. Now hit Combustion. Combustion does X plus Y plus Z over 10 seconds. I'm going to break down the main spell combination for fire. There is a real easy way to set this up in PvP, and I'll also explain how all the other talents stack together. There is a PvE add-on you can get from Curse called Combustion Helper. I'm going to load it up in this video to further help visualize Combustion's mechanics. Liliqui is going to help with this demonstration. Keep in mind she is currently at 3600 resilience. Just a quick disclaimer, this math is just best guesswork based off the numbers I can pull off my character pane and talent tree. I'm not sure if the formulas are correct, but it seems to work. You'll remember that Hot Streak procs every time you get 2 non-damage over time spell crits in a row. Since my crit is already at 17.59%, add Molten Armor with the glyph and I'm at 22.59% crit chance. Add that 1 point from Piercing Ice, and now I'm at 23.59% chance to crit. I'll start off by casting Frost Nova, so now my target is frozen and I'll benefit from the Shatter talent, which multiplies my crit chance by 3. So Scorch has a 70.77% chance to crit. Now I'll follow it up with the instant cast Fire Blast that benefits from the improved Fire Blast talent. Again, I'm not certain on the math, but I'm pretty sure it has a 94.77% chance to crit against a frozen target. The Shatter combo gets my 2 crits in a row, which nets me a Hot Streak proc. Instant cast Pyroblast, which crits and applies Ignite, instant cast Living Bomb, and Combustion. Keep in mind I'm getting all this damage off just one spell power proc from a PvP trinket. I haven't popped Mirror Image or my other spell power trinket. As you can see, it's super effective. Now for practical application. I'm going to show some world PvP as fire and break it down as best I can for you. Tolbarad just finished, so there should be a lot of Horde out there ready for PvP. I'll start with this Druid, and he's going to try and run away. Here I'll use Blast Wave to slow him down. He dismounts, so I'll blink towards him and hit Frost Nova to set up for the Combustion combo. Unfortunately, the Feral Druid trinkets out of it, and to add insult to injury, this Shadow Priest has decided to join the fun. Every man for himself is uncool, so I'm going to have to sit in the sphere. I'll start applying damage with Scorch, and counterspell his Mind Flay, which interrupts and locks him out of the Shadow Tree for 7 seconds. I'll start piling on some more damage with Scorch, and add Living Bomb on there for good measure. He's going to disperse and run away because, well, it's basically all he can do since he's locked out of the Shadow Tree for a little bit. I'm not going to get those mobs on me if I can avoid it. That Feral Druid is still around here, so I'll pop Mana Shield and try to go around where those mobs spawn to keep the pressure on the Shadow Priest. And there's the Feral Druid, and he is unloading on me. Luckily, Blazing Speed procs, so I'm going to GTFO and try to get some distance. Frost Nova will help with that and set me up for the Combustion combo. Plus, his trinket's down this time. Fire Blast nets me the Hot Streak proc, and he's still frozen, so this Pyroblast is going to benefit from the Shatter talent. There's the crit, which applies Ignite. Now for Living Bomb, and I'll wrap it all up with Combustion. And he just gets eaten alive by those dots. Now it's time to evocate to get some health back, and our little buddy the Shadow Priest is back. And he'll start dotting me up. I start running towards him because right here I'm thinking I'm going to get in close range for a Dragon's Breath interrupt, but that mob just spawned and I changed my mind because there are probably more on the way, so I'm going to try and get out if I can. As I use Dragon's Breath to get that pet off me, luckily Cauterize procs, which heals me but will also kill me unless I ice block the debuff off, which I do, and this puts me back on an even footing. The Shadow Priest sees this and decides to call it while he's still alive, but the best thing about Fire Spec is being able to run and cast, and I'm going to use that to my full advantage. That finishes him off, and it's time to get away from these mobs. I will invis out of combat and live to fight another day. So let's see that full speed, along with a couple other fights I got while prowling around Tolbarad.
Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
You see, I'm a guy of simple taste. I enjoy, dynamite, and gunpowder, and gasoline!
A few quick notes to remember is fire. Don't get too trigger happy when impact is up. Save it for an interrupt or for the combustion combo. The add-on combustion helper, please remember it's a PvE add-on. In PvE you can wait a while and maximize your damage, so while the add-on can help you visualize when best to use combustion, in PvP sometimes you don't have time to wait for the ideal situation having all three dots up. I'd rather you use combustion with just a pyro and a living bomb than wait and maybe lose the fight because you didn't pop combustion since there wasn't an ignite proc as well. My PvP video is going to take a lot of time and I have no idea when I'm going to be able to get it out with my work schedule. In the meantime, I'd like to try and do another video, but I have no idea what it should be on. I'll read the comments and try to make something you guys want to see. I'll try my best to get the next video out sooner than later. Thank you everyone for your patience. Thanks to everyone who subscribed, and just remember life is too short to not be having fun.